Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live Out Loud Wednesdays. Tonight's discussion we are having is co-parenting. Devin, would you like to start with our co-parenting?
I can. I'll start with some facts about co-parenting just to get that off of there. Some people don't realize that co-parenting is a form of a relationship. So co-parenting is an enterprise undertaken by parents who together take on the socialization, care, and upbringing of a child for whom they share equal responsibility. The co-parent relationship differs from an intimate relationship between adults in that it focuses solely on the child. So the reason why I wanted to read that is co-parenting kind of gets blurred depending on the people that are the parties of the co-parents. The sole reason why the two people have to interact is for the child's needs. Sometimes I think people blur the lines of what that means and what they should be able to do and say with the other party. I myself have had to co-parent with my two oldest children. Would I say it was the greatest relationship? No. Did it have its ups and downs? Of course. But I would say there were the times that were good to a certain extent. Just because my oldest daughter did get to have the opportunity to share moments with her father when it was his time, and holidays, when she wanted to go over with him or wanted to stay with me, those were divided and things like that. As she got older, that kind of altered a little bit. But for the most part, I would say my oldest daughter kind of had the better brunt of that, being a good experience. As far as my second daughter, the co-parenting experience was non-existent. So I can't really speak on that, but I wish it would have been a better experience. There was a brief moment to when it seemed like it could have been, good based on, the other party had a new spouse that was, more active and wanting to get my daughter over there. But, that only lasted so long. So, I mean, I would say for the most part, if there are two individuals who are able to communicate, able to share the same mission as far as raising their kid, co-parenting can work out. When it does get confusing and complicating and messy is when there's one individual that doesn't agree with the other one. One who's bitter and tries to hang on to things and things like that. That can kind of blur those lines to where the co-parenting becomes sometimes a really bad situation, unfortunately. So that is my take on that for the moment.
I like that. Eb, can you give us your view on it?
Sure. So, co-parenting. Jeez. So when my daughter was 3, her father and I, we divorced. We were divorced by the time she was 3. I'm sorry, 4. By the time she was 4. So our divorce was finalized when she was 4. He, by divorce decree, is supposed to have her every weekend. She, ever since probably the age of 4, she would just go with him every weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But the divorce decree says like something from like Thursday to like Monday or something like that. I don't even remember no more. It's so long ago. But Aaliyah had a really good experience with her dad as a young child. I didn't have the best marriage, and so my husband was extremely controlling. Like, he didn't want Aaliyah's dad to come to the house to pick her up, but I didn't stop that. I still allowed that to be something, he's going to come to her home and pick her up. But my ex-husband just despised it. He hated it. So when I split from him and I left him, like around 2016. So Aaliyah had to be like 10. Her dad and I um, became, more so friends and friendly in the sense of like he would come over here, he like, put some stuff together. Nothing romantic. All that stuff had died years and years ago, but just we had a really good experience for quite a while. She was going over to his house one weekend and his mom's house the next weekend, and just I had a great experience with co-parenting. He would, I didn't have to go through the system for child support. Like he would write me checks every month, like, or make sure she has what she needs. And that was my experience. I mean, I ain't gonna sit here and knock my daughter's father, truthfully, because she has a good father for the most part. I think I was extremely hurt. And this is the first time I'm actually speaking on this. I was extremely hurt because I didn't understand why the dynamic of the relationship had to change between he and I in regards to co-parenting for Aaliyah. And I'm owning my role as to why I think co-parenting right now is kind of strained for us, because I think so he's in a relationship. I think there were things about his relationship with me in the past that made that uncomfortable for the person he's in a relationship with. I think Women Empowered has helped me see that through a different pair of eyes, and understand where another woman's feelings may feel or may be a certain way. However, the co-parenting aspect where I fell short, anywhere from 2018 to now, is I was more so hurt by the fact that I had lost my friend versus more so, Aaliyah losing that co-parenting experience. And I think well, not even now, but maybe I think my views started to change on it recently, but the fact that she was losing that piece because his life started to change. And I feel like he stopped doing what he was doing prior, which he had. I mean, that's just the truth. But my role in that was just, I feel like I didn't um, I didn't act accordingly in many instances regarding co-parenting appropriately myself. Again, it was about my feelings for the connection that we were making with our daughter, as opposed to trying to figure out a way to make it work where we could work together regarding our daughter. It's cool now. We're in an okay place now. We don't really have I mean, she's 17, so we don't really have a whole lot to say together to each other in regards to that. But he still does what I need him to do, or he's back to doing what I need him to do, and that's kind of where we're at. But what I would say as advice to people when it comes to co-parenting is remove your personal feelings and your personal junk to the side and parent for those children. I wish my parents had done that for me when I was a child. A lot of what I know about my family is that they were, my dad and my mom, they were dealing with other people in their lives as well. And they didn't make the best decisions in regards to, I was kind of like a package deal. If my dad couldn't deal with my mom, he couldn't deal with me. So it was kind of one of those things. So I haven't had the best experience with that. I think I did okay regarding my daughter to the best of my ability, but I do own wholeheartedly my role. But at the same time, I do think we could have done a much better job, especially where she is in her life right now. Age-wise, she's flourishing and doing well, but I do feel that people need to work together and really put the kids first, because like they're not putting the kids first. It's all about emotional feelings and how you felt about how the other person did this, that, or the other. And real quick, another part of my issue is that I felt like my daughter was enduring the same things I endured, and I may have put that on the situation a little bit more because I feared her having the exact same experience as me. She don't really know what that experience is. So who was really getting hurt by it? I was. So I look at it through a different pair of eyes now. What I want us to do as Women Empowered is to help encourage other ladies to function differently, heal differently, and just use those healing tactics to be able to have healthy relationships with the people they have children with. So that's my spin on that.
I agree with that. I've had a little bit of both mixed co-parenting. I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly. With my first two daughters, co-parenting, I was a lot younger, and so therefore my feelings were a lot more involved, and um, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. I didn't want the relationship, but I was that bitter baby mom. I didn't lay down and have these babies by myself kind of ordeal. Like, now that this relationship isn't working and we're, exiting stage left, you get to just go on and live your happy married life or whatever it is that you choose to do. But now I'm stuck with two children. And when things aren't working between us, when we're not agreeing on things or seeing eye to eye on things, or whenever it is that I feel like I want to move on in my life, then it was like he kind of dropped off. And it's like, oh, you have a boyfriend now, or you're in a relationship with so and so, so let them take care of the kid. And it's like, no, that it shouldn't be like that. Whenever I was single, then that's when their dad wanted to come back around and play dad. And it's like, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to pick and choose when it is that you want to be a part of their life. During that time, though, I started to grow and started to understand that regardless of whatever we go through, I just want their father to be able to be a part of their life. I then had my third daughter and dealt with a whole different kind of dynamic. I felt like her father being in her life was not going to be healthy, only because she had sisters that were not his. And it was more of, I needed to protect my children. And so that is the only baby's dad that I have that I actually kept away. It was, you can come and you can see her, but when I'm home, or I can bring her to your mom's house and you can see her there. But anything outside of that, I just couldn't allow it. And so I could see where I tainted that relationship between my daughter and her father. She kind of grew up feeling like I didn't get what my sisters and my brother got. They have two parents and I only get to have one. And so I got to see how each different scenario played out and how it affected my kids once they were able to grow up. With the first two, I never ran around telling them that I couldn't stand their dad and their dad wasn't, SHIT or anything like that. Did I have ill feelings towards them? Yes, I did, but I didn't tell them that. I kind of wanted them to grow up to be able to see whatever their feelings were. Did I get angry in the background? I was, because it was like, your dad can stop by once a month, bring you some McDonald's, and he's Superman. I'm here with you every day, struggling out, and I'm nothing. Like, I don't get any credit. And I think that wasn't really what it was, but that was a bunch of my own insecurities as a parent. Being a parent can cause a whole bunch of things that go through your mind. I never wanted to be the same kind of parent that my mom was. And so I think that all of the judgment and all of the back talking and stuff behind the scenes, I think really bothered me, because that was the one thing that I wanted to succeed in, is being a good parent. By the time I had my son, I was well off in my 30s, and it didn't work with me and his father either. But we understood that we didn't leave off on bad terms, and that the mission was him. At the end of the day, it wasn't about me and it wasn't about his father. It was about him. And we were able to put everything aside. We were able to move on. Still to this day, he comes for holidays. Actually, all of their dads come for holidays and for birthdays and stuff. But I realized that when I was younger, I was a lot more bitter and didn't know how to handle the different situations, and that it didn't need to be that I had to raise a child by myself, but I did need to know how to communicate, and I did know how to set my biases to the side and however I felt about the situation, the scenario. But I think what plays an important part in it all is communication and how it is that the relationship ends. I think that the older you get, you just know that this isn't working out and you're able to communicate that and talk about it versus going ahead and doing things that is going to cause the relationship to end because you don't know how to say it, that this is over. And so I think with my son's father, I was able to realize that this isn't going anywhere and that this isn't going to work. And I would rather save my friendship with you. And so my son actually has four parents. Um, and he's okay with that. And I learned that in that moment, I had to be able to have those conversations also with my son to let him know that it is okay to go to his father's house and his father's significant other is okay, like for you to like her. Um, she's somebody else that's going to be looking out for you and taking care of you. I think that a lot of times people don't like the fact that their kids' father or their kids' mother is seeing somebody else. And so we ill talk them as well. And so then it leaves the child confused on if I come home because I like my dad's girlfriend and say that to my mom, or my mom ends up finding out about it, it's going to hurt my mom's feelings. And I don't want to hurt my mom's feelings. So I'm going to act like I don't like this person. I never want my son to be able to feel like he needed to choose between me and another woman. I birthed you, you're mine. I will never be replaced. But you can have 100 different moms. Like, I'm okay with that. The more moms you have, the more than you can get. It's more resources. And I think that he was able to be okay with it only because he kind of understood the dynamics that he has 5 older sisters. And so whenever he calls and he asks, he can call and ask not only me and his father for things, but he can also ask his sisters. And so it was just kind of more people into his bucket list of people that he can call if he ever needed anything. So I think communication is actually the biggest key in understanding where you're at in life.
I think for me, like I said, I've gotten over the fact of mourning. And that takes it's a huge level of growth to be able to accept your place in a situation. But you gotta, in my situation, I grew up with my daughter's dad. So I've known him since I was 13 years old. So, even though when we were together, we fought like cats and dogs. Like we weren't in the greatest place as far as a couple. That was my friend. Like that was my dog for like years. And so after my abusive marriage, whatever, and then, just after years of knowing somebody, and then they all of a sudden, they change and, they go off into a different level of life or relationship and this, that, or the other. And then you have to, you have to remember that the child is what's important, more important than how you feel about the loss of that friendship that you had with that person despite your child. And then your child just so happens to be a byproduct of the two. And so we have to remember, and this is what I want other women to learn as we go. I think that this topic is very huge and very important. And I think it's amazing that we all have stories to share with these women and to help these women understand that what is important, again, as the child, you are more than welcome to mourn any relationship that you had in the past with the other parent. It's okay for you to do that, but that should not affect the dynamic of that co-parenting relationship with that child. And that's on either side. If a man is bitter, some bitter baby dads out here, and the same thing applies to them. the relationships that they have with a mother or whatever, and then I don't want to be because you dealing with this dude, or I'm only gonna deal with her, like Davina said. Like, okay, I'm gonna come through when you're single, and I'm gonna be a dad, and I'm gonna be a superhero right then and there. But the minute that you're not, here I am disappearing. That's a package deal. That's the kind of childhood I had. I was a package deal. It was all gravy when my mom wanted to associate with my dad and deal with him. He was right at the house. He was at the house on a consistent basis. When my mom wasn't dealing with that no more, he was ghost. And that's just what it is. And that's how I grew up. And my dad came here to Minnesota when I was 20. He surprised me. I hadn't seen my dad since I was 11 before then. When I turned my 20th birthday, no, not even my birthday, in 2000, I was 19, about to turn 20. My dad surprised me and came to Minnesota and spent a week here in Minnesota. And I thought he was coming back to stay and live because that's what he said. That was his plan. And he never did. He didn't contact us for a year or anything. And I'm an adult at this time, but still extremely butthurt. But the only thing I can remember was their level of communication as a child. And this, it still ate at me even as an adult. If we don't instill the correct methods of working together as parents, that follows our children into adulthood and adds to the problems and the issues that they have as they get older.
I agree with that because, yes,
Yeah.
I can say my youngest daughter, I used to always be like, what is wrong with her? So when she was in school, I had her talking to the therapist there. And then I started to see like her journals whenever I would go ahead and clean their rooms when they were gone. And in her journals, it was just always about, how she didn't like her siblings because they had both parents. And she felt like it was all of our fault. And I think by the time she was 15, getting ready to be 16, I said, okay, it's time to have this talk with her. And so I remember I sat down in a room with her and just told her, like, I don't want you to be angry at your sisters. Like, your sisters have nothing to do with it. And you do have two parents. It's just, I have to watch out for you a little bit different. And I gave her the reason why, and she didn't believe it at first. She was like, no, no, no. And I think a year later, she ended up going and staying with her dad. And she was there for maybe a month and a half. And she came right back and she was like, Mom, you were so right. And I'm so sorry that I didn't listen to you. And I told her, I don't want that to be a reason that you dislike him or don't have a relationship with him. You're older now, but when you guys were younger, it was my job and my duty to make sure that I protected you guys with every part of me. And so, no, I can't have just this crazy old man in my house. Now that you're you're a young teen, you can go and you can be with him. You can spend time with him. You can call him and see what's up with them and everything else. But she said, my dad's not even in the right state of mind to even for me to call him. Like, he thinks he's one of my friends. And she still, to this day, she sees him every now and again. And I think that she's kind of gotten used to I'll see you maybe this week, and then I won't see you for 2 years. And then I'll see you again for a week, and then you'll disappear off the face of the earth again. And I think that she's finally just getting to the point where she's okay with it and understanding. But I think that she had a vengeance against her siblings only because she felt like she was the only child that didn't have a father. Everyone else has two parents, and I don't get that. And so when it's her birthday time, she only gets one parent buying her things, so she doesn't get double the presents. Christmas, she doesn't get double the presents. And I think that just caused a lot of resentment on her behalf to them. I just told her that everything would work out in the manner that it's supposed to. And thank God now all three girls, they're in their 20s, and they finally found that place to be able to love on one another and to understand it. And now I'm able to I'm to the point in my life where I'm able to actually have those conversations also with her. I didn't realize how important it is to actually have those conversations with your children as well. only because I was raised that, there's an adult place and there's a child place. Um, had I thought a little bit differently on that, I probably would have had those conversations with my daughters. There's a lot that had taken place in my life that I just kind of kept to my business. It was my business. And you guys are children and just stay in a child's place. Now that I am older and they are older, I wish I would have had conversations with them. I wish I would have opened up to them more and would have told them what it was that I was going through, dealing with, and why it was that I did certain things. I no longer believe that there's a child's place and an adult's place. I think that if they're asking and they want to know, they should be able to get that. They might not understand it, but at least then you told them and it wasn't a secret. I realize how secrets can be hindering to one.
I can agree with that. I mean, just by both of my girls, they're 16 and 19 now. There are a lot of things that I wish that I would have been more open with them about, as far as things that I've experienced, things that, like you said, the reason why I do certain things and why I don't. As far as the dynamic between my two girls, they do have two different dads. So they basically have had two different childhoods. My oldest daughter's dad, for a moment, we were friends as well as co-parenting, and that kind of just went left. But in the time frame of when we were friends, he was taking both of my kids at that time. They would get gifts on Christmas together, holidays, Thanksgiving dinners, things like that. They would go together. But there was a certain point when my youngest daughter said she didn't want to go anymore, because they had a dog over there and she was scared of the dog. So ever since then, I just never, made her go. If she didn't want to go, I wasn't going to make her go. So then that's when she stopped getting the second parent gifts, right? Because, my second daughter's dad is just a what's the word? Non-existent person, absentee father. And if he was standing right here, he would plead the fifth on all of that and say, everything else. And I'm pretty sure he'll probably see this recording and be like, I knew she was eventually going to say something about me. But the fact that he is 16 years old, a junior in high school, and he's still getting himself together, is a prime example of, the things that I went through. Like Davina said, I was that bitter baby mama at one point. My daughter was young. He was the number one guy when it was just my oldest daughter. Cook, clean, do everything, everything right. As soon as I got pregnant with my daughter, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I kid you not. Like, I literally could write down on a piece of paper how everything just flipped completely different. Whole different person, whole different personality. This guy who now I have a baby by is someone I don't even know. And this was my high school sweetheart. So, same experience like Ebony said, like this was my friend at one point to now I don't even know who you are, bro. Like, and that's literally been the experience that I've had with this man for the last 16 years. Never been a good experience ever since, she's been born, to be honest. And do I see her and how she is now based on that? Absolutely. I don't want to cry because I always cry on podcasts, but when you try to find the reason why your child is a certain way, I tried to supplement. I tried to give extra gifts and toys and love, but it just was never enough. And looking at how she is now, it's like all you had to do was be there, Mm-hmm. And that's all I said was just call her. You ain't even got to do nothing financially. She's good. She's been good. She's been good her whole life. I took care of my kids every day of my life. I've never given up on my kids. And it's just sad to see how emotionally kids get affected by a parent not being there.
Yeah.
When my kid asks me, what is it that I did where he don't want me? Like, what? Should no kid ever have to feel like that? So that's why when it's like talking about baby dads, right? I try not to even talk about that fool because he ain't no dad. She don't even look at him as a dad. And I might get backlash, like I said, from this video because I don't vocally speak about him. The last time I spoke about that man was when she was probably 6, 7. She's 16 now. She don't even speak to him. And that tells you a lot because she got her phone. She do whatever she want to do. She's in her room. She got a job. She's almost grown, about to be graduating high school. So when people try to put the narrative of your mom is putting you up to this and your mom is doing this, I'm not doing that. That girl got her own mind. She does everything she want to do on her own. So it's just sad that still to this day, all these years later, I had my daughter in 2007. It's 2023, and you still got that same sad message that I'm putting something in my kid's head. And you would think that someone would finally come around and say, I miss my kid. It's been all these years. Let me come be, this person. And it's like, you live right over the river. It ain't like you in a different state or you're here. You're literally here. So there's no excuse.
You want to know the sad part about all of that, though? One thing that I did learn in life is that the circle of life is that we have children. We take care of our children and we raise our children to one day take care of us. I didn't have a real good relationship with my father growing up. And then it kind of just was what it was. I would see him at my sister's house on holidays and I would say my highs and my goodbyes. I started to then change my relationship with my father when I was maybe in my 30s. We finally started to have conversations and to get to know one another. And every time I seen him after that, he just continued to tell me that, well, honey, sweetheart, I'm only getting older. Like, I'm not going to be around for much longer. So we really need to, have some kind of bond. And it's like, because now you need me. And I think that it's weird only because I felt that way about my father. And now my middle daughter, she says the same thing. Her dad, now that she's grown, he calls her all the time. She never answers. He calls me and says, have you talked to your daughter? And I'm like, I talk to her every day. And he was like, she won't answer any of my phone calls. And it's like, she doesn't live at home anymore. I can't make her do anything. But maybe it's time for you to be able to apologize and, try to save face and understand that there was a point in time where she really needed you and you weren't there. And you weren't there because I didn't allow you to be there. You weren't there because you chose not to be there. The door had always been open for you to do anything and everything. And now she's grown and she still needs you, but not as much as she did when she was younger. And so now she's kind of just okay with it. Like, she's trying to deal with her mental health now because that's what it caused her, is to have a lot of mental health and emotional issues. Missing a parent causes a lot to a child. It is a lot of trauma, and especially one that is playing peekaboo. I want to be here. I don't want to be here. I want to be here. I don't want to be here. Ones that make false promises. That causes trust issues with kids, and then you grow up to be young adults and you still carry those issues. You still have those problems. She's working on all of her problems, but she doesn't want anything to do with him. And I continue to tell her, like, that's your dad, like, give him a chance. Just have a conversation with him. But every time she comes back, she says, like, I feel like I'm talking to some guy I went to school with. Like, he's never going to get it. He's not going to understand what it is that I'm saying to him. I just want him to be able to say, I'm sorry, so we can move on. But he's so busy trying to blame everybody else. And it's like, well, it wasn't my fault. Like, I never told you anything bad about the man. I've always let him just come around whenever he chose. Like, if you choose to pop your head in today, you can. If you don't, I'm not chasing you. And that is the one thing that I did always tell him. It's not my job to make sure that you have a relationship with your child. I'm not going to chase you down. Just going to continue to move on in life. But she is really affected by that. And now he's suffering the repercussions of it.
Yeah, I don't think men realize how vital they are, especially in their daughter's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
My oldest daughter, her dynamic with her father was similar to what Davina was saying. Her middle daughter experienced the in and out, call him the shoe dad. He would buy the Jordans and every so nice this and nice that, and then he's gone for a few months, or says I'm going to come pick her up and then doesn't come for 3 weeks and things like that. He kind of just did his own thing. He had other, contributing factors, which I won't speak on because that's his business. But, that kind of altered the childhood that she had because of the decisions he's made and also with, the things that he had going on in his life. So she never was really given that opportunity to have a real dad. And now that she's 19 and she kind of just, broke down and said, like, I had a talk with him and he don't get it. She's like, he don't get it. And he's steady trying to ask her to do things that she don't even want to do. You trying to buy her a Benz. She don't want a Benz. Like, got a license. What's she gonna get a Benz for? Like just stuff that just doesn't match up for her lifestyle, right? She does hair. She wants to have a hair shop, but you want to buy her, something completely out of her realm of what she's doing with her life. She wants a car to start out with. Why would you buy her a Benz as her first car? Like, that's great that you think that you could do that. I'll applaud you if you pull up with the Benz for her. But is that really what you want to buy a kid for their first car? Probably not. But, but that's always been her lifestyle with him. It's everything is always extravagant. And, I want to buy her a pellicoat. She don't like pellicoats. What you going to buy her a pellicoat for? Like, I understand that's what you think you got a little boy, this is a little girl. I gotta buy her matching Jordans with me. She don't want no gray and black Jordans. Gray, green, and black, like just colors that she don't wear, and she wear pink and purple. You know what I mean? Like, everything was always like just a different way, and she never really had that opportunity because, like Davina said, I was never one of the moms that was bad mouthing my kids' dad. Like, that's just something I didn't do. I was too busy taking care of them, making sure they were good, to where I didn't want to be the reason why they didn't like them. I said, when you get old enough, you will see how they are and you will make your own decision on that. And when they got older and old enough to realize how they are and what they do, that's when they made that decision. And I leave it up to them now. Like, if you speak to them, you do. If you don't, it is what it is. By the grace of God, my third baby daddy. Yes, I have 3 baby dads.
You're 4.
Is an active father. We are still together, so I can't say it's a co-parenting situation because we are still together, but completely different situation. I'm so thankful. I've never experienced how easy it is to have a child by someone, and to just say he needs this, and he goes and gets it, like, with no hesitation. It's, oh man, I gotta do what? And oh, he need more diapers. No, I don't get none of that. Like,
I will be honest and say I don't get that from my daughter's father either. I think if I say she needs something, honestly, I can get it. I'll get it from him. I think more so again, again, what was affecting me so hard, or what affects me so hard, was the fact that her life was starting to mirror mine extremely too much. It does mirror mine so much. Like my dad was, my dad was very much into his relationship with whatever woman he was dealing with. And so unfortunately I didn't fit into that. And so those strong-minded women and the relationships that he had kind of put Ebony on the back burner. And so unfortunately, fortunately, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, kicked in hard, and I was always with my aunties, and I was always with my family, and I know my cousins, and I know my family very well. I spent a huge amount of my time. He come through like, hey, what's up? I'm at my grandma's, my aunties, sit down with me, talk to me then, see him at a birthday party. What's up, dad? Hey, dad, that kind of stuff. And so my daughter, every other weekend, goes with her grandma, which is her paternal dad's mother, and he goes over and visits with her. It's the same as just how my dad visited with me. So that didn't really sit well with me at first. Now I feel like God has implemented it to be the way that it is for whatever reason it is, and I no longer question it, have concerns about it. I don't get bent out of shape about it. I just do what it is I ask you to do what it is she needs you to do. We, text message recently lately about, senior pictures, her, just kind of how she's so little still. She's a peanut, having little conversations like that about her growth and her development. At this point, co-parenting has to fit the situation. It's not going to always look perfect, or it's not going to always, you're not going to be able to pick how it should come. Whatever co-parenting method works for your relationship with your child's father is what works. I have come to understand that he is a person who lives in whatever he's in, and he has to deal with his current lifestyle the way that he deals with it. And he does not balance the two the way I think he should. Now, is that my place to say that he thinks that he's doing the best that he can? No, it's not, because he might very well feel like he's doing the best that he can, going over his mom's and whatever have you. Or one might blame me and say, you're the reason why I go to my mom's to see her, because you don't allow her to come to my house. Well, I mean, I did say that at one point. But again, Aaliyah is 17 years old. She doesn't really need to be going to your house. And I don't need to be relying on another person or another female or anybody to help you take care of her needs. Her needs are extremely different. So no, I'm not comfortable with that. Not because I'm bitter and I don't like your situation to the point of where whatever. It's not just about that. The reality of it is that my daughter has a different level of needs. She can't communicate with people the way that most people can. And I'm not trusting just any situation with her for that. You have to show me, I'm sorry, that you are somebody that she can be around. And I don't care who you are, mama, sister, cousin, auntie, whoever. And fortunately, her grandmother, God bless that lady's soul, is amazing. She loves my baby from the moment she came from the hospital. That's she loves my baby, and she'll text me on a Wednesday night and be like, is my weekend to get Aaliyah? Can I get her on Thursday night? I'm so excited for seeing her and missed her. That's everything. Like, and my grandma was the same way. So y'all can imagine how I felt when I came home August 20th, 1997, and my cousin called me screeching on the phone and said my grandmother had passed away. And I'm gonna tell you how connected I was with my grandma, y'all. I went to see Stella's Groove the night before, and when Whoopi Goldberg died in Stella's Groove, I got sick to my stomach and I started crying and I got ill. I went to throw up in the bathroom, and I don't even know why that happened still to this day, but I do know my grandmother died the next day. And man, when I say I had the most amazing co-parent experience with my grandmother, I really did. And my daughter has the exact same co-parenting experience with her grandmother. And so I'm thankful. It don't mirror perfection. Perfection would have been for me and her dad to, continue where he was still coming over here and, hanging out and talking to, my current husband about trips like he was doing at one point or things like that. That would have been the ideal situation for me. But that doesn't mean that ideal situation is the same and would work for him. And so as we go and keep growing in Women Empowered, and I have to bring light to this again, because people that are watching us need to understand that we all have a very different story and a very different approach. And we are here to help you maneuver through the co-parenting experience, because we all are parents, we all have children, and we all have very different walks of life and experiences with this. And most of our kids are grown or almost there. So, if you ladies need help with, that portion or piece of your life, that's another piece of something that Women Empowered is here for, to help you with, So just wanted to say that.
I was going to read off some tips and tricks to co-parenting that I've seen here. So the number one tip is to set hurt and anger aside. And what that means is by separating your feelings from behavior, getting your feelings out somewhere else. Stay kid focused. Don't put your kids in the middle. Never use kids as messengers, and keep your issues to yourself. The second tip is to improve communication with your co-parent by being peaceful, consistent, and purposeful with communication is essential for co-parenting. A couple co-parenting methods is set a business-like tone, make requests, listen, show resistance, commit to meeting, talking consistently, keep conversations kid-focused, and quickly relieve stress in the moment. I think some of those are important. And co-parent as a team. Even though you're no longer with the individual, parenting, making decisions together and cooperating and communicating things is the best way to kind of keep everything level. I know some people, it's hard when you have feelings, whether it be ill will towards the next person, maybe just ended on bad terms, whatever the case may be. It's best to remove that. Remove any feelings you have for that parent to keep it, positive for your kids, because your kids did not ask to be here. And the number one thing they don't want to see is mom upset with dad because of them. And they will think that they are the blame because more than likely the only time that they're talking to that other parent is when they are transporting you or talking about when they're going to be, setting up a time. So depending on how old your kids are, they might hear a conversation and you guys are arguing about when pickup time is, or if they can get you or can't get you on the weekend and things like that. Kids will take that as they are the blame. They are the problem. So try to refrain from doing that, and just being the best that you can to, allow your kids to be in their mom and dad's life, if that is the safest thing to do. So that's just recommendations I have, because I think it is important for your parent to have, your child to have both parents, if that is a possibility. So I think it's best to remove any type of negative feelings or, bias that you might have on that other parent. So that's just some takeaways I wanted to have there. And if you ladies are in need of any assistance of helping with co-parenting mechanisms or transporting kids and drop-offs and things like that, we can definitely help out with ideas and arrangements and things like that. We are more than happy to do that.
I think mine also has on my tips for co-parenting. My checklist that yours doesn't have is prepare your kids for blended families. I think that actually is really important. Doing mental health check-ins with your children to see where they're at and how they're feeling. Strive for unity as parents. I think that actually is really important as well. I think that when the kid can see that there is no splitting, then the kid doesn't have as many issues. If the kid knows that both of you are not on the same level and that they can do the splitting with you, it causes all of it to be unhealthy. And I think kids will try, like, it is what it is. Consider therapy when faced with unresolved conflicts. I think that the younger the child is, if you see that there is some issues, to get them help as soon as possible. I think if I would have sought help for my daughters when they were younger, I think that at least giving them somebody other than myself to talk to would have been healthy for them, instead of them trying to feel as if they needed to hold it all in and that it was just their issues and their problems, which then manifests into other things. I think that if they would have known that it was okay to have a conversation with somebody about what it is that they were feeling or going through, they probably would have been a little bit more better off. Practice healthy communication, set healthy co-parenting boundaries, I think is also a really good one. And so just to make sure that you're always communicating with your kids about what it is and why it is that you're doing things. That way, then everybody's kind of on the same level, the same wavelength, and all aligned.
I agree. I think today's conversation was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Anything else we want to give the ladies or anybody watching this recording later? Unfortunately, yeah, today's podcast is recorded, so we do apologize. We're not live today, but still feel free to leave any comments, messages. We will definitely look back at this and answer anything you guys have questions on. And please, please, please reach out to us at any time. Tune into our prayer line, our daily, every morning, every evening. We also have our Empowered Approach, which is during the week. Davina has the times for that, but we're here. We're here for y'all. Message us, let us know. We're working on more things. We have our workshop coming up on the 7th of October. That'll be Domestic Violence Awareness Workshop. So feel free to reach out to us if you have questions. We're working on so much for y'all. So,
And I just say, as I'm sorry, go ahead.
Empowered Approach is every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. It starts at 6 p.m. Just be mindful that if no one logs in by 6:20, I usually log off. We do have a customer care line that also comes to my phone. So if you log on after like 6:20 and I am not on there, or there becomes a day that you are having some difficulties and you really need to talk to someone, you can also text to the number 507-782-0075. That comes directly to me. I do check those messages, and I will be able to figure something out for you. I will make sure that I respond to your message, though. So if ever there's a time that you're just having a hard time and you just really need somebody to talk to, make sure that you either log on to Empowered Approach, which I would prefer, at 6 p.m., and or text that number, 507-782-0075.
you can also reach us via email if you don't want to send a text. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach us at womenempoweredmn@gmail.com. And we check that email daily as well.
I just want to say one thing. Let ladies, people, co-parents, parents, let God lead. Let God heal. Let God restore. Let God empower. Let God help you grow. Growth is what is necessary to be a successful co-parent. Healing, restoration, all these things. Let God, let him in, let God learn to let go and let God. That's all I have to say from Women Empowered as we end tonight.
Amen. I approve that message. We love y'all. Have a good night. See y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.